Hi, my name is Beyhan and I am here with you with our fourth video. In the first three videos we have seen how to install Ubuntu on VirtualBox and how to configure SFTP and SSH to reach and to manage our Ubuntu server. After that we have seen how to install PostgreSQL server on Ubuntu VirtualBox and how to manipulate data with pgadmin. And in our third video we have seen how to use Entity.NET framework to connect PostgreSQL with a C# application. In third video we have created a C# console application to write and read data from PostgreSQL, and we also created a web application to read and to write on PostgreSQL. In this video, we will see something interesting. We will be deploying our applications, .NET Core applications to Linux, the same as you will be doing on Windows. So .NET Core is cross-platform and you will see how we can benefit from that. So in this video, we will be touching a few domains. One of them will be Windows and .NET development. Another one will be deploying our .NET application to Ubuntu. And .NET web applications are using internal web server called Kestrel web server. Kestrel web servers are planned to be used as secondary web server. That means first you will be using an IIS, and IIS will be forwarding requests to Kestrel. So actually it is configured by default to run on 127.0.0.1 in this generic IP address. Same thing applies on Linux side. It is planned to be first request will be coming to Apache, then this request will be directed to Kestrel web server. And we will learn in this video all of them, how to do configurations, IP configurations, port configurations, and how to forward requests from Apache to Kestrel, how to do firewall settings, and how to manage VirtualBox port forwardings. Now let's continue with our Visual Studio. We will open the application that we have developed in third video. I am using Visual Studio 2022, and Visual Studio 2022 supports .NET 6, which is the latest version of .NET Core. And if you are using 3.1, there are just minor changes in the code. Visual Studio 2022 uses .NET 6, so we need .NET 6 SDK. If you have installed Visual Studio, you will automatically have the SDK. And same thing required in Linux side. We need to have .NET 6 on Linux side as well. And we will see how to install .NET 6 SDK on Linux and how to run our application the same as we will be doing on Windows. As I mentioned before, our web application is using .NET 6. If I double click on the project, we will see the framework details which we are using. And as you can see here, it is .NET 6. And we need to install on Ubuntu .NET 6 as well. Before we continue, we will do a few changes on our controllers. We will add a simple method to read all the data from PostgreSQL database. Our PostgreSQL database is located on Ubuntu server, so I will start my virtual machine and we will be able to manipulate data on PostgreSQL. So previously what we have done is we have created a logs controller for our logs table, and we added an action. We can add a string to our log table, and now we have our third method, another action. And to call that, we will be doing just logs/read all. What it will do is it will go to our DB context, it will connect the PostgreSQL database, it will go to logs table, it will read all the entries, and it will create a array list with that. And with that array list, we will be reading only the log1 field, and we will concatenate all the log1 fields in a string, and we will return the string. If we get an exception, we will catch it and we will return exception message. And in launch settings of our project, I will also change default launch URL to this. So if I write here logs/read all, that should be sufficient. Same thing here. And if I run the application, web application, it will open a browser window and we will be able to call our actions. If you haven't been following me from the third video, what you can do is you can simply create a web application, a .NET Core web application. So what happened is now Kestrel web server is started. You can see it is listed in localhost 5024 port, and it's already called our default controller action. So it should be reading logs tables and it should be returning us the log columns data. And it is working fine. Let's test another one by using add action. And I will call that let's call web test. And that has been done. If I read again read all action, now we should see our new string here. That's fine. Now we know how to run it with Visual Studio, and let's try it how we can run it from console actually. With .NET we can simply call .NET command and the web application DLL, and it will trigger the Kestrel web server. Then service will be running at the background. You will see it. Then we can actually make the same calls. So what I will do is I will go to Visual Studio. I will stop our solution, and I will right click and publish our application. I have done publish before, so if you are publishing first time, you will see this window. And you will choose folder and you will click next. You can choose your publish folder location, but I will leave as default one. So you can click finish and it will create this publishing profile for you. And then you will just need to click publish button here. Or as an option, you can simply run the publish commands, which is here .NET publish configuration release. Okay, publish is completed, and in output window we can see the publish folder location. If you don't have output window, just go to view and click output from here and it will open output for you. So what I will do is I will go to PowerShell, which I have here, but I won't be using this one just to show you. Actually it is nothing to do with Visual Studio this time. I will simply run a PowerShell or CMD. I will call the .NET command and over DLL, and Kestrel web application server start working. I write CMD. I will go to folder that I have copied. To paste, just right click on the console. I go to D drive, and now if I say .NET info, I see all the details about .NET command I have here, so I can run it. That means I have .NET. Now if I say .NET, paste again web application, iot.dll, it will start running again the Kestrel server. You can see the port is 5000 this time, and if I go to web browser, if I say localhost 5000, I need to write the whole path logs and read all. As you can see, web server is running. We haven't created a service or anything. Simply by calling .NET command and the DLL, it has triggered web application and started Kestrel web server. It started to listen all the requests from localhost 5000, and we got the response. But what happens if I change the IP address? This localhost only works on this machine, not even network. In order to reach this Kestrel web server, I need to enable Kestrel to listen the local IP address, or I need to set up IIS reverse proxy. And I don't want to use IIS in this case. So what I will do is, I will just show you, if I try the same request with my local IP address, this time I will open PowerShell. It is much better than CMD. And I will close this window. We will continue with PowerShell. If I write ipconfig to see my local IP address, and which is here, 192.168.56.1. Instead of localhost, I will be writing it here, 192.168.56.1. So it says refuse to connect. It doesn't allow us to connect to this site. Another thing is, actually we are not running our web application. First we need to run it. Okay, Kestrel is running at the background, but it doesn't listen 192.168.56.1. So it won't be showing any response to us. No. So what we will do is, I will close this window. I will go to Programs of Web Application. This is again .NET 6, so code is a bit different than core. If you are using core, you need to go to Program class again, and you need to do this bit. You need to adjust this line under Startup, this code. I know my IP address, so I will just copy this IP address. This is Windows IP address as we have seen on PowerShell. If I go to PowerShell again, just to remind you, just to make the things clear to understand, I go to ipconfig, and this is the IP address, right? So I need to enable Kestrel to run on this IP address too, and also on localhost. I change this one to localhost. Localhost same as 127.0.0.1. So if you write localhost, that means you actually have access to this IP address too. I saved it, I will rebuild it, then I will publish it again. Rebuild succeeded, now we will continue with publish, and I will click publish again. I will copy the path one more time, and again I will write .NET, and I will write path web application. It will be web application DLL. This time you will see two IP addresses. As you can see, this time Kestrel is listening both this address and this address. So if I go to browser, if I press enter here, this time Kestrel is listening this address. Sorry, port number is, let's check the port now, 5024. That's it, now it is working fine. Again, if I write here 127.0.0.1, it is working fine again. If I write here localhost, which is same as 127.0.0.1, and it's working fine. So this is how you can actually run Kestrel web server without using IIS, and it is exactly the same in Linux. I will show you in a second. And just to show you how you can run a console application, I will publish console application too. I will say publish, and that has been done too. So I copy the path one more time. I will just simply end this by pressing Ctrl C. Again, I will write .NET to run console application, paste it, console ubuntu.dll. You can see hello world, and it will be reading data from PostgreSQL server, and that has been done. As simple as that. As same as Java, as same as Python, you can now run .NET Core applications in any platform just by using .NET commands. Now let's learn how to run .NET applications on Ubuntu. First, we need to check if we have .NET on Ubuntu. To do that, we can simply write .NET on terminal window, and if it shows information, then we have it. Otherwise, it will show command not found. And it says command not found, so we will install .NET SDK, then we will have .NET command. I open a browser page. We will search for .NET SDK Ubuntu installation. We will click for Microsoft page, and if we scroll down, there are distributions, so we need to know what's our Ubuntu distribution. For that, we will be using LSP release commands. It is 2004, so I will click 2004, and I will be copying the first command here. I will go to terminal, right click, paste, and that has been done. I will continue with the second one. Copy, terminal, paste, enter, and that has been completed too. We will continue with the third one. Right click, paste, and enter. That has been done too. So we will continue following directives. I will copy this whole bit, right click, paste, and enter. And here we got some issues with our repository. It cannot connect to that. So let's fix it, and then we will continue with the second command. We need to change our repository URLs. So to do that, we need to edit source file under etc apt sources list. And here I will change all the TRs to FR. So instead of Turkey repository site, we will be connecting to French repository site. Ctrl S, Ctrl X, and now I need to run second command again. I paste it again and press enter. Okay, .NET installation is completed, and we have installed .NET SDK, which contains .NET runtime, and by using .NET SDK we can actually develop .NET applications by using .NET command line interface CLI. So let's see if we have .NET now. As you can see, we have the .NET, and if I write .NET info, and we can see the details and where the .NET is located. So it is under user share .NET, and there's a .NET replication here. So this part is done. Now we just need to copy our .NET application from Windows to Ubuntu, and then we will be running just .NET command as we have done in the Windows PowerShell or in the command line. So to copy, we will be using SFTP. And before we continue, we actually need to change IP addresses of .NET web application. Remember, if you want to connect somewhere else than 127.0.0.1, we need to give the IP address. But this IP address is Windows IP address, and we need to provide here the Ubuntu IP address, and we need to remove this IP address because it will try to open port connection for the given IP address, and it won't be able to find this IP address on Ubuntu, and it will give us an error. So first we need to check our Ubuntu IP address. To do that, we go to terminal, and if we write ifconfig, we have 10.0.2.2.15 IP address here. So we just need to provide, and I will be writing here. So we have changed the IP address, and we will be just publishing it again. Before publish, I will do build solution, and build is completed. Now we will just right click again. We will select publish here. We will publish to same folder. I will copy to paths, and I will open this folder in File Explorer. Paste the path here, press enter, and I will copy this folder to Ubuntu with FileZilla. So I have already created a site on FileZilla, and we reach FileZilla, and we reach Ubuntu with port forwarding on VirtualBox. You can see the details on the first video. So I will say connect. We see the data folder of SFTP, and I will just drag and drop publish folder here. Transfer is completed. Now we can run our .NET application. Since that will be a web server application, I will create a proper folder for it. I will create a folder under var www, and I will give a name web API. And I will be copying publish folder contents to this folder. So to do that, I will say copy all from var sftp my folder data publish all the contents to var www web API. And if you go to this folder, and we will see we have all the files here. And we need to change permission of these files. They need to be executable. That has been done with sudo chmod command. Now we can list the contents again. If you want to see the permissions, use ls all. And we can simply run .NET command as we have done on Windows. And I'll say web application.dll. As you can see, Kestrel is already running, and it is listing both Ubuntu IP address, and also it is also listing local IP address, generic IP address. So if I go here, if I open a new tab, if I write 127.0.0.1.50.50.24 logs read all. So as you can see, we have all the data from PostgreSQL, and if you want to add new ones, as we have done on Windows, we will just say logs, controller name, and action name, and the parameter for the action, and that will be test string. We got an OK, and if you check it again from logs read all, and we got all the data. And we can check if it is listening, it is Ubuntu IP address as well. As you can see, it's also working fine. And it is as simple as that. You just need to do exactly the same thing as we have done on Windows. And you just need to run .NET command with a web application DLL. It will be triggering again the web application. It will start running Kestrel web server, and it will start listening the IP address and ports you have provided. And this is how we can run Kestrel web application server on Ubuntu without using Apache. If we provide permissions to firewall, you will see we can actually reach it from the Windows machine as well. Let me show you how we can reach Kestrel web application server from Windows. I press Ctrl C and I stop running Kestrel web server. So what I will do is I will just say sudo ufwlo, and I will give the port number on TCP protocol. Rule is added. Now I will just enable it. That's it. Now if I go to my VirtualBox, I will do port forwarding for port 5024. I go to settings, network, advanced port forwarding. We will add a new rule here. I will say .NET Kestrel 5024, and I will forward it from my generic local IP address 5024 again. I can do any port number, but just to keep it simple, I will use same port, and that's it. Now if we start again our .NET commands, web application with our .NET commands, now Kestrel is listening again. If I go to Google browser, Google Chrome browser on Windows, if I write 127.0.0.1.50.24 logs and read all, it should be working just fine. As you can see, it is working. That's because we allowed Kestrel web server to run on local IP address, and we have done port forwarding from VirtualBox from our Windows host to Ubuntu IP address. If we didn't write this line here, it wouldn't allow us to connect from non-local IP addresses. So this line is important here to be able to connect outside from our machine. Our next step will be creating this .NET web application as a service, so it will be running at the background. So simply by running .NET command here, you can run .NET Core application on Linux, and if you allow firewall and if you do port forwarding on VirtualBox, you can simply reach our Kestrel web server from outside IP addresses, such as I have done with my Windows host machine. So now I will stop our .NET Web Application Server by pressing Ctrl+C. Now we will create a service which we will be running at the background, so we will be able to reach our .NET Web Application without running .NET commands as we have done previously here. I will create a service file, then I will be running 4 commands and it will be done. So I have these nodes on my Windows. I will connect to Ubuntu with PuTTY. I will connect to Ubuntu, password was Ubuntu, and I will just create a new service file. I go to PuTTY, right click, paste, and the password again. Now we need to copy these lines to our new file. So what we have here is the description for our service, and the second line where our web application is working, and here we have .NET location, and it is installed under user share .NET. This is the command we are running, and this is the whole path for our application DLL. I press Ctrl+S, Ctrl+X. Now we will copy this command. And this command will enable our web API service. It's fine. And we will start it as we start in other service. Done. And now we will check the status of our service. It is active and running. As you can see, we got same output here. Now I can simply close it and check it on Ubuntu as well. So if I say sudo services web API status, it is doing exactly the same thing that we have done with .NET command, and output is exactly same. So that means our web application is running at the background even if I close the terminal window. I have closed the terminal window, it is running as a service at the background. Now it should be able to get all the data, and it got. So just check it just to be sure. I will run again the logs, add action, test.net service. It said okay, and we will be reading all the data again. We can do the same thing on Windows. I opened the Chrome browser, logs read all. This is the exact same output. We can use our Kestrel web server as standalone web server without Apache, and now I will show you how actually we can use Apache web server as proxy web server to forward requests to Kestrel. To do that, I will open another PuTTY session here. First, we need to make sure Apache will be listening our ports that we'll be using. I will be using port 88, so first I need to go to Apache ports config file, and we need to add this following commands. We need to go to etc apache 2, and here we have ports conf file. If we do sudo nano ports conf, password is Ubuntu, and I will be adding this line here, listen 88, Ctrl+S, Ctrl+X, and then we need to installing 2 modules to forward our request to be able to use Apache's proxy server. Paste it, press enter, that has been done, and then second command, paste it and enter, that has been done too. And what we need to do is we need to add port forwarding VirtualHost directives on configuration file. We need to create a new conf file for our web API, and automatically Apache will be checking all the conf files under conf enabled folder. So I go to Apache again, press enter. Now I just need to copy and paste it here. But remember, we are not using 50,000 port, we are using 5024 port, and again 5024 port. So what it will be doing, it will be forwarding any request coming from 88 to 5024 regardless of IP address. And now we just need to restart Apache. Of course, to be able to reach 88 port, we need to allow it on firewall. And we need to enable. Yes. Now we can check if we can reach from 88. And we can try it on Ubuntu. If I say 88, it is working just fine, but this time it is actually passing the request from Apache to Kestrel via 88 port. And I will go to VirtualBox settings. I will add Apache 88 port forwarding rule here. I go to networks, advanced port forwarding, and I will say Apache 127.0.0.1.88 and to 10.0.2.15.88. Okay, now if I go to again my browser on Windows, instead of 5024, if I write 88, it's working just fine again. Read all. So it's working just fine. At the background you can see there is Ubuntu, and here our Chrome browser on Windows host is just working fine. So basically, by adding VirtualHost on Apache configuration and by enabling port on ports conf file, you can forward all the requests that's coming outside from IP addresses to local Kestrel. So in that case, actually you don't need anymore to add these IP addresses to Kestrel that we have done in Visual Studio. It can run on default settings. It can just simply run local URL. Remember what we have done here. In the program CS, we have added these lines for Ubuntu. Now we don't need to add them because as default it will be listing just this IP address, and since we will be reaching our Kestrel web server from local IP address because of reverse proxy that we have done on the Apache settings, we don't need any more other IP addresses. I hope you understood what we have done by using these URLs and what is reverse proxy. Now in the next step I will show you how to enable SSL and HTTPS on ports by using Apache web server. We will be connecting via HTTPS. To do that, first we need to run a few commands. One of them is apt get update. I go to PuTTY, and now we will be installing OpenSSL on Apache. Copy the commands, paste. You can find all this document content on YouTube as description to the video, so you can copy these commands from there and change according to your needs. It has been done too. And with the third command, fourth one, we need to add new lines to Apache Conf. So we open that with nano editor. We are going to end of the file, and here we can add this directive. Ctrl S, Ctrl X. And we need to create a folder to store our certificates and private keys for SSL. We will be doing that with sudo maker commands. That has been done. we are going to this folder, and now we will be running OpenSSL to create the private keys. It says country name, just 2 characters, province, and now the organization name, nothing, organization unit, nothing. This common name parameter is important. Here we need to be entering our IP address, so it will be 10.0.2.15. Email address, we can just give a random email address here. And we have created our certificates. If we show the content, we have this private key and public key. Now we will continue. To enable SSL, you just need to add these 3 lines, that's it. So if you go to our conf file for web API, which was under enabled sites, so conf enabled, we have our web API conf file here. I will open it with nano, and for the end I will be just pasting these 3 lines. That's it. Now we can reach our site with SSL. But before we do that, obviously we need to restart Apache. And password is Ubuntu. Done. Now if you go to Ubuntu, we should be able to connect via 88 from HTTPS. I will just change URL to HTTPS. Accept all the risks because certificate is self-signed, it's not global signed. So now we have our secure connection, and if we try to reach it from Windows host, we can use HTTPS too. It is exactly the same thing. It will be //127.0.1.88 controller name and the action, read all. It's again giving the same warning to us because this is not a trusted certificate. I just want to continue to site. Where is it? Yeah, here, proceed. That's it. So in this video we have learned many things from different domains. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do so, please click like button and don't forget to subscribe. Hope to see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching.